The other thing that the Trump administration or news from the White House that it's just making me laugh so hard is the revelation that Trump has his mugshot hanging just in the entry to the Oval Office. You can kind of see it here. There was a room, a press briefing that was streamed, and the door was left open, so somebody noticed it, and it's really making me laugh. You can see this is Doug Burgum. He's a cabinet member, and there is that mugshot again. You remember how much left-wing people just wanted the perp walk, they wanted the Donald Trump mugshot, and instead of it being some sort of humiliation ritual for him, I think it actually sparks joy. Like, they find it funny. There's this video here, let me pull it up, of walking into the Oval Office. Everyone who enters has to pass this New York Post front page with his mugshot. I mean, that's hilarious.
I think
the
that's
funniest
beautiful
thing. Right.
Yeah,
I mean, this says about White House culture, Gothix.
I think, well, first of all, I think leftists were hoping for this, but I don't think it ended up in their favor because it motivated the hell out of them. And honestly, I think this mugshot solidified the election for a lot of people. He earned a lot of street cred. And, you know, I think about White House culture, I think it's a victory story. I mean, if I'm being honest, I think it's great that he's hanging it up. Kudos to him. I would do the same thing.
A convicted felon is my president. And I like that. That's pretty cool. And that's pretty awesome because it's the perfect kind of representation of F around and find out from the left, from the Democratic Party machine, and giving people a reminder every time they're walking into the Oval Office to see the president that he's a convicted felon, that he was facing 700 years in jail, that they took shots at him, that he was someone that they tried to take out in more ways than one. They tried to do it in the court of public opinion. That didn't work. It backfired. They tried to do it in an actual courtroom. That didn't work. It actually backfired even more. And then they tried to take his life. And I believe the same people that orchestrated and tried to take him down from the very beginning through a lot of these coerced, underhanded, really unfair ways were responsible for all of those larger attacks. And I think this is a larger kind of reminder to Trump being like, hey, never forget these people that you're up against, these people that have hijacked our system, these people that waste away our money and screw us over, wanted to put you in jail for 700 plus years. Never forget that. He won't, because every time he walks in, he has to look at himself in that famous picture. That picture that, of course, as soon as it came out, the left was hoping that as soon as this picture comes out, that he loses credibility, that all the boomers and all the old people were like, oh, no, he's a criminal. We can't have a criminal become the next president of the United States. And then the exact opposite of that. That mugshot here, it's a larger cultural representation of F around, find out. Now we're coming for you with the people that attacked him directly. There's also a famous tweet many years ago that is being shared around from 2021. I shared it in the chat room here, but the tweet gets funnier the longer we go on. And we're going to look back at this tweet, I think, in a span of a few years, and it's going to be absolutely hilarious.
Here, I'll pull it up. I think it's funny that this mugshot was something that they wanted him to be ashamed of, and immediately his team introduced merch. They were like, "You can't make us feel ashamed of anything." So this is the tweet that Elon Musk has reposted. It's from February 12th. It's kind of weird that deplatforming Trump is like complete. It's kind of weird that deplatforming Trump just like completely worked with no visible downside whatsoever. I mean, there is a reason that people converted to Truth Social, you know, like there is a reason people were willing to walk away from mainstream platforms. He has a following, and trying to shame and blame him and make him seem like someone they should hate never worked. And I don't understand why. I mean, I can't tell you how many left-wing talking heads just salivated over calling him a convicted felon in the run-up. They're like, a president, a convicted president as a convicted felon as president. I can't believe this is happening. And I don't think anyone on Trump's base cared.
Gothix, what do you think about this cultural shift and its larger kind of implications here? Because, you know, if you're a convicted felon now, you're like, hey, the president's a convicted felon too.
He's definitely more relatable. I appreciate that he's just more real and honest, because if we want to call anyone criminal, then we can say that literally everyone in the White House for the last couple of years are also criminal. I like the culture shift. I just want them to do their job. You know, like it can come off a little gimmicky, but I just want them to do a good job. That's it.
Do you think that people look at these kinds of small moves, like banning the AP for not adopting Gulf of Mexico, hanging this mugshot outside, and feel like the Trump White House is radically different than it was in 2016? Because it feels different to me.
Yeah, no, it definitely feels different. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I just think that
were you into politics in 2016? I can't, or like, did you follow Trump very much at that time?
No, I had Trump. Well, I had Trump derangement syndrome at that time, so my perception of him is like drastically different. I wasn't really politically involved, but I had a lot of opinions about politics, mainly based on what media outlets were saying about him. You know, he's racist. He is a a womanizer or whatever. But I didn't really have any opinions, and so going from that worldview to this, I'm happy with the choice that I made this past election. But yeah,
how do you think you would have reacted to this mugshot hanging outside the Oval Office when
I
you
would have been
sick,
just like them, just like, oh, convicted felon, you're voting for a felon. Like, what's wrong with you, white supremacy? I would have been parroting the same nonsense. So I appreciate that they're almost like doing this petty gatekeeping with media outlets, because a lot of the brainwashing came from me watching stuff like Associated Press or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What was the moment, or what was the information that stopped your brainwashing and made you kind of realize the reality and severity of the situation?
It was a combination of a couple of things. The first was that I got a lot of pushback from on black leftists online when I was just questioning why people were throwing the race card around over a Disney movie. And then I saw black leftists once again online glorifying, robbing 70-inch TVs, Gucci bags during the BLM protest, thinking that that's going to do something against police brutality. And my observation was like, okay, there's some type of like spell that black leftists are under, and I think there's something to this. I don't think we're all supposed to be in lockstep with the same ideology. So it really just took me observing, the inconsistencies with the media. Oh yeah, and COVID too. Like you say, stay home, flatten the curve. You can get sick if you go to a Trump rally, but you can't get sick if you go and march for George Floyd. Make it make sense.
Do you find it easier to talk to people with Trump derangement syndrome, or who are hostile to Trump administration right now, because you at one point were in their shoes, or is it more difficult because they look at you as a traitor?
No, I think it's honestly, from my perspective and all the things that I've gone through, it's gotten easier for me, because now I realize that the vast majority of people who have TDS, they don't even know what they're thinking about. They just regurgitate what everyone else says, and they don't actually consider the whole argument. So I find just asking them questions is better than trying to disprove what they say. Like, they say Trump is a racist, he's this, is that. How did you come to that conclusion? What evidence do you have to support that? 9 times out of 10, they have no idea. They're just repeating what they heard.
Right. I think that it's always worth trying to talk to the other people, but in this case, you don't want to do a fool's errand and be like,
you screech at them autistically. I'll be right back.
Does that work?
I've never tried it, to be fair, but Luke has made a career out of it, so it might work on some level. Did you feel like when you started changing your mind on how you viewed some of the things that were being said, you changed anything else in your life? Like, was there external symptoms of this, or was it sort of just an internal process?
Well, I mean, it was definitely, physically, if you look at my old photos, like, I looked like I wore the leftist uniform, like, if I'm being honest. Oh yeah. And then like internally, I just learned to listen more. Like, I'm definitely more quiet than how I was a couple of years ago, because before I would always interrupt people. I would say, you're wrong. I would get very emotional. And now because of so much patience with people that were already on the right, I learned to just engage in the conversation and not jump to conclusions and expect to be proven wrong. Because I think a lot of people who suffer from TDS are people who are just too prideful, and they've been convinced that you couldn't possibly be wrong about this thing because everyone in your corner is saying the exact same thing.
Were you married at the time? Did your husband have a similar experience to you?
No, we weren't married. We were both on the left, but I was like crazier than he was.
You were farther and you moved more dramatically?
Yeah, we both had a red pill moment, I guess you could say, but I was more crazy than he was. I think women in general can be a little bit more entrenched in the radical leftism than men.
No,
Yeah.
women being more crazy. No.
Yeah.